Hi guys and gals and kittens, and welcome to the iNeedle show. So as we all know, ChatGPT and OpenAI released GPTs, which is the ability to upload documents that you have in your GPT, which allows ChatGPT to actually use these documents as your source for the conversation with the end user. Now, they only allow for uploading 20 documents. That might be too little. Maybe you want to upload 1,000. Or maybe you want to scrape a website instead of using documents. So in this video, I am going to do just that, the latter. And then I'm going to show you how you can significantly increase the number of documents you want to use by using, let's do 250. Right. So what I'm doing now is that, first of all, I'm scraping iNeedle.io for the first 250 pages. Now, I'm not going to have you watch all of that stuff because it's going to take 5 minutes. So from now on, I'm going to be fast forwarding until it is done. So now it is done scraping up to 250 pages. I can just close this window. And I can now go to manage / machine learning, and I can actually look at the training data it generated as a consequence of scraping my sites by filtering on iNeedle_io. So you can see here, this is one of the videos, one of the training snippets. Here is another training snippets. These are semantic training snippets containing markdown with the alt tag from every single image. If I look at one of the snippets that contains text instead, you will see here, and it also preserves hyperlinks and stuff like that from my website. Still, it produces a relatively high quality training database for me, containing 212 training snippets in total, because we don't have 250 pages on our website. So now what I want to do now, I want to go to Manage, I want to go to Plugins, and I want to install HyperLambda GPT. HyperLambda GPT is a natural language interface for allowing you to actually create HyperLambda code, because that is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be using no-code and low-code constructs now to actually create HyperLambda endpoint that I can connect to ChatGPT and GPTs in specifically. Now I'm going to go to create / hyperid, then I'm going to be expanding modules, then I'm going to be expanding YouTube, which is like my demo folder for my YouTube videos. Then I'm going to create a new endpoint. I'm going to call it get-context.get.hl. I now have an HTTP endpoint. Now I need to populate that endpoint with code before it actually is functional. And the code I want it to populate, I can actually use natural language to tell Magic what type of code I want to, within some boundaries. I need to emphasize this too, is based upon the HyperLambda module, that model that was automatically installed as I installed HyperLambda GPT. Create get context endpoint that returns context from my training snippets. Hopefully this is going to work. It's not bulletproof. HyperLambda GPT is beta stuff, and it doesn't always do exactly what you ask it to do. So you need to sanity check the code before you actually put it into production. However, most of the times this seems to be working fairly accurately. So let's see what ChatGPT returns to us now after a couple of seconds. Let's use this guy. Let's maximize it. Query, threshold, max tokens. I guess we can remove these guys. We only want to have query. Returns context from your training snippets as a string using VSS search to your training data. But for simplicity reasons, you shouldn't do this in a production system, but I'm on a YouTube video, so I'm just going to remove authentication and authorization. And then I'm going to validate this mandatory query. Okay, that seems to be correct. Now it's applying threshold, max tokens. And then we want to use iNeedle_io here. We want to use this vectorization model. Then we want to use prompt, threshold, and max tokens. And we can save the file. Alt-M to demaximize again. We can go into manage. We can go into endpoints now. We can choose get. I need to wait until it's finished loading. Get context. Let's try it out and see how it actually behaves. Tell me who works at Ainiro. Now what this actually does now, it takes my query, it vectorizes it using embeddings API from OpenAI. Then it does a lookup towards my database, which is vectorized. And as you can see here, our machine learning team, blah, 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 the team behind Ainiro. Okay, so it's almost correct, except I don't want it to return the snippets as structured data. I want to go back into HyperID, open it in a different window, and then I want to only return the context. So I'm going to go to YouTube here, get context, and then I want to do return nodes, context, signal slash context. Let's save it again, and let's invoke it again, at which point now it should only return the context, hopefully. That is kind of like the purpose. So, okay, that didn't quite work, so let's figure out why. Signal, unwrap, yeah. Unwrap, save, try it out. And there we are. I now have an HTTP endpoint allowing me to actually retrieve context data dynamically from my Magic Cloudlet as I am asking questions to my GPT. What I want to do now, I want to create a GPT by filtering on OpenAPI here, finding that particular endpoint, moving it to the right here, and invoking it with YouTube/get context. This is the URL of my endpoint, because I only want to have this endpoint becoming a part of my OpenAPI specification that this bugger automatically creates for me. As you can see here now, returns context data from your training snippets as a string. Now I can copy this guy, I can go back into ChatGPT/GPTs/Discover, I can create my new GPT. And I can configure it by adding create new action, import from URL, Control V, import, and then I can add a privacy policy here, which is our privacy policy. Why didn't this work? OpenAI is slow today for some reasons. It's being hammered, I suspect, but here you can see finally it works. Error saving draft. I've experienced this bug, unfortunately, both today and yesterday, which is a drag, but okay. Ainiro context chatbot allows me to use more than 20 documents. In my GPT. All use the get context action for all questions I ask to retrieve context to answer my question. Preserve markdown as is, such as, for instance, images, and return relevant images as markdown. Hopefully I'm going to be able to save this guy, otherwise I guess the YouTube video is over before it even got started. Save draft, only me, only people with a link, privacy URL, okay, privacy URL. And as you can see now, it messes up my actions. Let's try again. If it works, you see it creates two of these buggers for me. I'm just going to have to delete them entirely and start the create action process all over again, import. I've seen this happen a couple of times. If you end up with two actions, just go through and delete your actions and add them again. That seems to work sometimes. Now I can save it as a public GPT. and then I confirm, and then I move on to the GPT. This is the public interface. Who works at AI Nero? And now the point being that now I want it to not use the default vanilla ChatGPT. I actually want it to ask me if it's okay for it to actually invoke my endpoint to get context information. So now it's using my documents, quote unquote. Of course, I didn't upload documents. I could have done that, but I actually scraped the website. However, the effect is the same. It's actually using my training data in my GPT, and I can have like 10,000 training snippets if I want to instead. So I can ask it questions related. Nero, and every single time it's going to invoke my get context endpoint to retrieve information that it uses to answer my questions. So that is kind of like the point. And actually, if I further prompt engineered it, I could probably have it, and by prompt engineering it, I mean modifying the instructions for this particular GPT, I could make it show images. Let's try, can you show an image of Aria from AI Nero? Hopefully this is going to work. It doesn't always, sometimes, no, it actually works now. Allow. Yesterday I tried this, it started generating images using DALL-E, which obviously was incorrect. So now it's going to supply my query to the endpoint, which again is going to return markdown required for it to display a photo of Aria, hopefully. Cross your fingers. And ta-da, it works. And there we are. So this allows you to actually create a GPT with more than 20 documents, which I think is pretty kick-ass. Anyways, thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends and all that beautiful stuff, and have a beautiful day.